The T421 has a new feature included in the kit, which is the body upstop. As you can see, it's mounted on my car right here. It's this piece here is mounted directly to the C-hub, and this can be adjusted for different settings depending on how you want it to affect the car. So in this video, I'll explain in detail how to set it up and how to use it for different conditions. So to demonstrate how the new body upstops work, I've mounted this clear body here so that you can get a better view of the front body posts through the body shell. The body upstops, they are mounted to the C-hub here, as I've shown before, but right now they're pulled all the way down. So I need to push these up if I want some effect of the body upstops. So I'm gonna pull these up a little bit. So the distance that I'm using for reference here is the gap between the top of the little carbon slot to where the set screw is. So in this case, I've set this to 4 millimeters. The gap that you'll have to use is completely dependent on the body shell type that you plan to use. There's different body shells on the market that require different heights. So in this video, I'm going to demonstrate it for a Mr. Speciale. But once again, it's important that you'll set it up specifically for the body shell that you're going to use. And it also depends how the body shell is mounted, because if it's mounted more towards the front or to the back, the posts are going to be in a different spot in the body shell, and they're gonna start working at a different point. So you'll always have to adjust these depending on the body shell that you're using. So now to demonstrate what the body upstops will do when I have a 4 millimeter gap in the slot. You can see here the body is pushing down, and only at the very end of the compression you can see that the body shell stops to move and only the posts are moving. So almost at the very end, you can see the body shell stays at one level where the posts move all the way. So what we're talking about here is front lip ground clearance. So there's a gap between the front lip to the ground when the body is resting on the car, ready to run. Usually I recommend 8 millimeters of clearance here when the body stop is not used. 8 millimeters will give you good clearance so the body shell is able to move downwards without hitting the ground or upsetting the handling of the car. So that's a good starting point. And when you set it up like this, when it's only working at the very end of the movement, this prevents the body shell from touching the wheels on full compression. So the wheels doesn't scrub into the body shell. It doesn't scrub speed that way, and also it prevents the body shell from dragging in high-speed corners, or if the track's a little bumpy, or due to various variations of the track surface. So this is how we set it up most of the time, just to prevent the body from touching at the very end. But you can adjust it to engage earlier, and let me demonstrate what happens when you do that. I will now raise the body upstops 0.5 of a millimeter more. So they're sitting a bit higher than they were initially. So 4.5 millimeters is now the gap here. And when it's at 4.5, you are going to see that they are engaging earlier. So you can actually see now that the body posts, they keep moving, but the body shell stops a lot earlier. So it stops at an earlier point and you'll have more ground clearance earlier. And this gives you the benefit of being able to lower the body shell. So because the body shell is not going to touch, even though the car's getting closer to the ground, you can exchange these body holders, the 1 millimeter ones instead of the +2 millimeters, So this brings the body closer to the ground, but since you set a quite high body upstop setting, the body won't touch the ground. And the benefit of using a high body upstop setting is that you can run the body lower without it touching, and that gives you more front downforce, which increases high-speed steering. But keep in mind that when you use a body upstop setting like this, you'll lose a little bit of steering in the 180 degrees corners, hairpins, lose a little bit of initial steering, but you'll definitely gain high-speed steering because you'll have more front downforce, especially in fast corners. So it's always a trade-off, it's a compromise. You'll get one benefit, but you lose something else. So it's very track dependent. You'll have to test it for different tracks to see what setting you like. Another thing which is very important is that the body has holes big enough to have free movement up and down the posts. If the body cannot move up and down freely, then you need to enlarge the holes with a hoodie body reamer to make sure that it can move up and down the post freely. If it doesn't, the body upstop system cannot work properly. So keep this in mind when you mount the body shell, that the fitment for the body posts need to be perfect and with free movement. And just one final warning, make sure that you don't set these body upstops to work too early. So don't set them too high. Make sure that the body can always move a little bit with the car, because it needs to be moving a little bit for the car to be able to roll properly. Otherwise you lose steering and the car will be very strange to drive. So don't set them too high. And keep in mind that you'll need a different setting depending on what body shell you use and what mounting position you use. And I think that's it. Have fun with this new feature on your T421.